Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'll be taking a look at the 2024 Ohio Senate race. I'll be focusing both on the primary from last night and then going into more detail about the general election, which will be happening come November. We have our lineup set. It's going to be Sherrod Brown, incumbent Democrat, versus Bernie Moreno, who won the GOP primary last night. I'm recording this the night or at around midnight of Tuesday. So as you can see on my screen, we still have 93%. We still have some votes left outstanding, but nothing's going to change. We do know that Bernie Moreno has won the GOP primary and in decisive fashion, and we'll talk about that first. So this was essentially a two-way race. I know Frank LaRose did end up getting around 180,000 votes. Could be a little more as the last few batches trickle in here. But this was a two-way race, and a lot of people were picking Matt Dolan to win. Matt Dolan was, again, favored in a lot of the polls. He was actually leading in the majority of polls from the week of Election Day. I believe Emerson, I might be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but I believe Emerson actually had a pretty good poll where they had Moreno up by 8 or 9 the day of the election, I think, on Tuesday morning. But beyond that, Dolan had the momentum in the polls, and a lot of people were predicting him to win. And that was even though Bernie Moreno had the Trump endorsement and was the favorite for the majority of the primary season. But ultimately, we saw he won, and he won every county. It was not close. It was not like he only won because Frank LaRose took away votes from Matt Dolan or because of some other factor. He won this by a lot, and he's likely going to end up winning here by around 200,000 votes when it's all said and done here. So that is definitely very substantial. It's an impressive victory, and it says two things. The first is that we might be underestimating Bernie Moreno as a candidate, not because I think winning a primary says anything about your electability in a general election. I tend to think that primaries don't really correlate to anything in terms of how likely you are to win the general election, but it does show that he knows how to run a campaign. He won a competitive race against two experienced politicians. Frank LaRose was the Secretary of State of Ohio for 8 years, and Matt Dolan was a state senator. So Bernie Moreno, does know how to run a campaign, and he also has outperformed the polls. This was supposed to be a close race that he was maybe supposed to lose, and he did not lose. He won by 18 points. So that, I think, is good news for Republicans and Bernie Moreno. The bad news is that Democrats got the outcome they wanted. Democrats wanted this to happen. Democratic-affiliated groups poured in over $3 million in the final week of this primary to boost Bernie Moreno because they believed he was the weakest of these three candidates. Matt Dolan was a more moderate state senator who ran in 2022 who likely would have won by more than J.D. Vance. Bernie Moreno is a businessman from Cleveland, and he is the most right-wing of the candidates in this race. So Democrats saw him, and they identified him as the weakest of the batch. And when he got the Trump endorsement, I think Democrats were really happy about that, and they were happy to see him win tonight. Sherrod Brown, I think, is in the best position he could have been, walking into the general election against Bernie Moreno. I would have moved this race to lean Republican if it were Matt Dolan, or even if it were Frank LaRose, even though I think Dolan would have been better than LaRose. With Moreno, it's still in toss-up territory. And now that we've touched on that, I do want to talk about the general election. I'm going to keep it in toss-up broadly. I will give a prediction at the end of the video, just my prediction for if the race were to happen tomorrow. But here's what I'll say. This race, I think, is going to be closer than a lot of people were initially expecting, including myself. Ohio's a right-trending state. Trump's going to win it by a lot in November, and Democrats are on life support in the state in general. Sherrod Brown is the last Democrat who holds statewide office in Ohio. That being said, I think right now there's a case to be made that this race is tilting towards Democrats, or towards Sherrod Brown, rather. Ohio is a weird state, and it does like to split its ticket. In 2022, which was just, the most recent election, Republicans won the Senate race by 6, but they won the governorship by 23. So that's a 17-point ticket split. And if that happens again, if Democrats were to do 17% better in, say, the Senate race than the presidential race, Sherrod Brown would win re-election. Because Trump's not going to win Ohio by 17. He might win it by 9 or 10. Well, he won't win it by 17. So that's the first thing you have to remember. The second thing is that Sherrod Brown is a very good politician. He is a politician that I think Republicans are not likely to underestimate because he's won 3 times. And he won most recently in 2018, which was when Trump was president. So this was not, a time before Trump or, before super polarized American politics. This was in 2018, and he won by 7% against Jim Renacci, who was a former congressman. Now, Renacci was not that great of a candidate. Republicans didn't really invest in this race, and Brown was not, I would say, in a difficult battle here. And this win was expected. But it does, show that he can win. And this is the last time a Democrat won statewide in Ohio. In 2020, I believe in 2020, Jennifer Brunner won a nonpartisan race, but on the ballot did not say Democrat next to her name. So this is the last time someone with, the D next to their name won a statewide race in Ohio. And that is pretty impressive for Sherrod Brown because it's been 6 years and no one has been able to match that feat. And he won by 300,000 votes statewide. So he is uniquely strong in Ohio, and he does have that appeal to working class Trump voters who dominate the state's electorate. And in 2018, he won Mahoning County. It's where Youngstown is. Trump won this county by 2% in 2020. He won it by 21. He won Trumbull by 16. He won Portage by 7. And again, these are 2 counties that Trump won pretty decisively in 2020. Summit County, which I think Biden won by 10, is where Akron is. Brown won it by 21. Cuyahoga County, where we can actually compare here, Biden won it by 34. He got it by 2/3 of the vote. Brown won it, he got 73%. He won it by, let's see here, that's 45, if I'm doing my math right. So in the Northeast, Brown outran Biden significantly. Now, it's different across other parts of the state. In Hamilton County, which is where Cincinnati is, Brown won it by 19, Biden won it by 17. So Brown only did about 2% better there. But the suburbs, as we know, tend to be better for Democrats at the top of the ticket than they do towards the bottom. And again, this is where down ballot lag is going to come into play because Biden's going to lose Ohio. We don't know by how much, but we do know he's going to lose it. And Sherrod Brown's going to have to overcome that if he wants to win re-election here. So for starters, I would expect Sherrod Brown to outrun Biden by more in the working class areas than in the suburbs. Both Bernie Moreno and Donald Trump, I think, are pretty right-wing candidates who are likely to perform poorly in the suburbs. I think Sherrod Brown probably will win Delaware County. He lost by 5 in 2018, but it's gotten bluer since then. Biden also only lost by 8% or 7% rather in 2020. It's moved to the left in 2022. Tim Ryan did all right there, even though he didn't really do that well in the suburbs across the state. So Delaware County, affluent north of Columbus, I think Brown wins it. I think Trump or Biden might win it. If not, he'll come very close, even if he does lose it. But the area where Brown will do better than Biden by more is these working class areas. Because again, Trump, I think, is going to do really well with working class voters, especially the white working class. And this is a take that I've held for a long time. We're in the midst of a realignment that is going to be permanent. Republicans are going to start doing better with working class voters as they have been doing over the course of the past few elections. And 2024 is not going to see a reversal of that trend. Trump, I think, will win Mahoning County by a good amount. I think he's going to win Trumbull and Portage decisively. And Brown's going to fight for his life to even win these 2. I think Mahoning he might win narrowly, but Portage and Trumbull, I'd be pretty surprised if they stick with Sherrod Brown this time around. So these working class voters, these blue collar up the Youngstown, Warren, Ohio area, they're going to be decisive. Because we know they're going to vote for Trump. If they stick with Trump but keep voting for Sherrod Brown's got a chance. If they decide to go all Republican as they were in 2022 and 2020, we're going to see a Republican elected here. And that's what it comes down to. Again, I'm not for umbrella characterizations of electorates. I like to look at states, where are the suburbs, where are the working class areas, where are the rural areas, where are the urban areas. But Ohio, to me, is all about, this race specifically, is all about the white working class in the Northeast part of the state. Because the suburbs, to me, Brown will do well there. Biden, I think, will do, okay with the suburban voters. Brown will do a little better. But the problem for Democrats in Ohio isn't the suburbs. The problem for Democrats in Ohio, as of late, has been the Northeast. Because, again, when Obama won Ohio in 2012, he didn't really do that well in Hamilton County. I think he actually lost Hamilton County in 2012 to Mitt Romney, or he might have won it, but it was very narrow. But I actually think he lost it to Mitt Romney. So Democrats have been gaining there, and they've been gaining, in Montgomery County, that's where Dayton is. They've been gaining in Delaware County and to an extent in Franklin County, but they have not been gaining in the Northeast. They've been losing steam there. They've been losing steam in the rural areas, and that's what's costing them. So Sherrod Brown, I think, will do well enough in the suburban counties. His problem is going to be winning over Trump voters in working class areas. So how's he going to do that? I think the best way for him to do that would be to hammer Moreno on fiscal issues, Social Security, healthcare, benefits for workers, unions. Those are 4 issues I think Sherrod Brown is going to hammer Moreno for, because Brown has made a name for himself as a progressive Democrat who, has done his best to fight for working class voters. That's the perception among the electorate that he would like to remain, consistent come 2024. That was the perception of him in 2018. That's why he won in 2018. If he can keep that, he will be able to win this race. If he can keep that. So, again, Sherrod Brown, I think this campaign is going to be a lot, fought over those issues. Fought over, does Bernie Moreno want to cut Social Security? Would he vote to expand benefits for workers? How would he have voted on the Affordable Care Act? Those are, concrete legislative issues that Brown has a record that I believe he's willing to tout. Brown's positions on those issues are popular. Moreno's and Trump's might not be. And that will be where this race is won or lost. So I would expect this campaign, if Democrats know what they're doing, if Sherrod Brown knows what he's doing, which I believe he does if he's won Ohio 3 times, I think this campaign is going to be about that. Now, if it's not, if it's about other issues, if it's a referendum on Biden, then Brown's in pretty serious trouble. But I would say, because this race is about the working class in the Northeast, because this race is really just about ensuring that Sherrod Brown can hold on to those Trump voters in that region, I think that that's what he's going to make the race, or, what he's going to make his campaign at least focused on. So, I think right now I would maybe put Sherrod Brown as a narrow favorite. I don't say that with any degree of confidence. Ohio's a red state, and we don't really have any great polling. And again, polls from Ohio are usually pretty bad. In the spring and summer of 2022, they had Tim Ryan beating J.D. Vance. I don't think that anyone ever believed that. But more specifically, or I just guess for 2024, I want to wait to get more polls just of Brown versus Moreno. The ones we have Sherrod Brown beating him by pretty, decisive amounts. I think he was up by 9 in the most recent one, but I want to wait for that. So for now, maybe Brown's a tentative favorite of mine just because he's the incumbent, because, he has more experience here. We're going to have to wait and see what the polls say as we get close to Election Day. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you're expecting, and I'll see you all in the next one.